You know what the downside of this week's series finale of Andor? No more Andor. This is kind of sad. But hell of a way to kick things off. It is one BBY, our walk into Rogue One and the series finale of Andor. Let's get going. Oh, hit the wrong button. Hey everyone, D here with your very professionally produced episode of D's Reviews. Yes, the season finale, 3 episodes, 10, 11, and 12. We had Make It Stop, Who Else Knows, and Jedha, Kyber, Erso to wrap up this series. And joining me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend. He's the guy that you come for. It's Rob from Smirking Gun Reviews.
What's up, everybody? We have so much to talk about that we just have to get going. So yay, we're here. Yay, yeah. Let's talk about it.
And obviously spoilers, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Yes. Let's keep going.
Like me, subscribe me, all of it.
I follow a few people on Twitter that are in the industry, and one of them obviously had gotten the full series released before any of the rest of us saw. And after last week's chunk of episodes, the only thing they wrote out was like, however good the Gorman Massacre is, episode 10 might still be my favorite. So I was like, how are they going to kick this off? And damn it if I almost don't have to agree. The fact that we get Luthen's backstory, Luthen and Kayla's backstory, how they kind of came up together, where that came, on top of we are losing Luthen, his sacrifice, everything. It kicks off the moment that Lonnie sends out his signal at the top of the episode. It's just a non-stop barrel, man. It's like the giant boulder coming after Indy for these 3 episodes. I loved the espionage. I loved the intrigue. Not only, again, do we get whole Luthen and Kayla's story, and then Kayla's whole infiltration of the hospital afterwards. And then, of course, we get Cassian, of all people, of course, coming to the rescue and then having to deliver the news and push to a doubting rebellion the seriousness of this. It kind of encapsulates all of the struggles of the early rebellion, and in a way how Luthen, being so much of a push, a driving force, is at the end almost cast out and ignored to what could have been the end of the rebellion right there. So yeah, it's just again, I love the intrigue, and I gotta say, they do nothing wrong. Everything looks so good. All of the ships look good. My God, the alien that Kayla is pushing through the hospital with, they had to have gone back to like puppet, right? Because that looked so like classic Star Wars and so perfect in it. It looked alive, more alive than a lot of the CG creatures do. So I'm just, again, just blown away with what they were able to do with this. The intensity, the seriousness, the humanity, the hope within this. And just please let this style of Star Wars storytelling continue. Do all your other stuff, all the kid things, that's all fine. The hoop hopping, just adventure things, that's all great. But keep some of this, because really this is, well, it says it right there. This is peak Star Wars. Rob, what are you thinking? What's your thoughts? Follow that up.
I have so much inside me right now that it's like a cacophony of everything. If I like multiple voices want to speak at the same time right now, because they just want to clamor over. Well, wait, don't forget this. This is a masterpiece of television, of any kind of entertainment, any kind of something put to film to sit down and watch. These 3 episodes like confirm that, nail it. If you don't like Rogue One more after this, I don't know what to tell you. For whenever I hear people like say, it's okay. I mean, look, if all you want, and this is fine, if all you've ever wanted, because it's all you've ever had, and you spent years and years following it, reading it, waiting for it, complaining about it, if all you want is Jedi, Sith, Force powers, jumping around, CGI, like, that's fine. That's fine. I love the original trilogy. There are parts of the prequels that are amazing, and there's some really interesting stuff in the sequel trilogy from recently, minus the one that I didn't see. But if you tell me that this isn't the best, like when I write this is Star Wars, when people go, well, what's a Star War? You know what I mean? Like there's literally, like when somebody goes, what's the interwebs? Like, well, how do you go, okay, this is what it, like the best representation of something. And you can take all the nostalgia we feel of seeing Luke and Han and Leia and Chewie, and I have a bad feeling about this, and Yoda, and all those things that we've spent 40 years, of our lives, at least me, I've been around since I saw Empire. Was one of my first memories, is one of my first memories. Darth Vader is literally one of my first memories when I think back to my life. But this is what Star Wars, when you read the books, when you hear about what's going on in the universe, and you take away the main characters that we've been living with, actual filmmaking, writing, acting, production, every single thing this thing ticks off, everything that says this is actually the best thing that they have ever done with this IP ever. From in going back to and it doesn't take away, because we always get so hung up on the classics. People still saying Citizen Kane is fucking boring. And it's really long, but guess what? It was ahead of its time, and you can't take away from that. It did a lot of things that a lot of people use later on, that they take that thing and they make movies better because that movie exists. So the trilogies, the prequels, everything that's come before this, it's not like it doesn't exist, but they say, we don't need it. We're gonna make this, and it literally is like, for anybody that's been starving for something different yet still familiar, and we've been complaining for years about quality of writing and acting, and this doesn't seem this and this doesn't seem that. This is Star Wars. This is what I've wanted since the first time, like when I sat in the theater and watched the first minute or so of The Phantom Menace and went, uh-oh. As soon as that one droid turned, or that one little thing at the comms turns around and goes, something or whatever, and they started talking, I went, oh no, this is going to be bad. But no. And you know what I mean? Like
well, look,
so
George Lucas has never been good with dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you can say about this show. All of the dialogue was good. Like you're saying, it's leveling up so many things.
Yep. It is the upgrade that this IP has needed for years. And I still think that besides this, the animated stuff is the best stuff in the last 25 years. When they've improved, when Clone Wars figured itself out as it went along, and then Rebels, and the way that they were telling stories, the way they were connecting the stories between the end of the prequels to A New Hope, they have been getting so much better at their storytelling and still making stuff for kids and adults.
Sure.
and everything else. And while you might have your kids be sitting there going, "This is boring," good, get them out of the room. We don't need them for this, right? Just put on a million other things of Star Wars that they can watch. When they get older, they'll appreciate this if they, get to where they need to be. I'm dissing children at this point.
Sure.
But this is just me still just praising this. I haven't even
But it's that necessary step up, because you're right. There are so much stuff that's for kids. And you're right. The storytelling that was done in Clone Wars and Rebels, again, kids animation series, had a lot of very serious, very impactful, very, plot driven storylines, as well as the fun bits and the stuff and all of that. And the movies, look, the original trilogy was great. I love Luke and Han and Leia and the stories of the Jedi, and that's always what I wanted to be as a kid, and that is something to aspire to. But as you get older, your tastes change. You become more sophisticated. That's why you have HBO premium television and all of these other series. And this just shows that you can take this world and give it that type of treatment and have it work, and not only just work, but outshine so much of other things. Again, it's a way of producing things. I mean, my wife is looking at this and I'm like, why the Acolyte and Ahsoka, and there's so many of these problems, and damn, a ship landing with a stormtrooper behind a piece of glass is the coolest looking thing. Just the ships flying through Coruscant all looked great. They didn't have to do a whole lot of that. They could focus on the main stories. And one thing they did really intelligently is the reuse of sets. The entire Gorman Plaza was able to be used for the whole 4-episode arc, because every plaza was the same, and they could just change some of the restaurants around and the locations and do some sides. Boom. When we get to see Kleya howling herself up in the safe house that we've been watching for years and years, and start out as just an apartment and then become a really nice place, and now this very trash place. It's such a smart use of locations. Even the big long walkway going into ISB, which we've been seeing since season 1, they're able to reuse and reshot, and now we're doing it at night, and now we have these effects, and it's such a smart way of using locations, right? But giving it that excellent feel. At no point, even when I knew there was blue screen effects being done for background images and stuff like this, when they were sitting in the plaza, about to see the Imperials blow up on the bridge, even though I could know that's all blue screen behind them. Damn, it looked good.
I wouldn't have been able to tell. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's far background, and everything in front is real, so you don't get that. It's just I don't know the movie magic that they all do. It's a part of production that constantly fascinates me. But it's just this is the one thing that angers me, honestly, when I see other stuff and I'm like, you can do this stuff. You can know this quality is available. Why do we not always get that? And is it genre that you're shooting it at? This is more fun and this is more serious. Okay. Is it speed? We got to do this quick, so we don't have time to do all this build and stuff. Finances. I don't know. All these series cost a lot of money, but they never look like this show.
No, and it's a shame that this show is going up for awards season. Even look, again, I don't care about awards, but I do like when people get acknowledged when something really, really stands out. And it's just a shame that this is going to be up against Severance.
Right.
Because it's I'm like, who could beat this show? Oh, yeah, the other show, the other perfect show. So it's can we just call it right now and have Severance and Andor just walk up and be So let's give Adam Scott and Diego Luna Best Actor. Let's share it. Best Series, Severance and Andor. Let's share it. Best Directors, Best Writers. Let's just share everything. Let's call it right now. Say the Emmys, the Golden Globes. Just give everything to Severance and Andor right now, and anything else to whoever.
Penguin.
Yeah. Oh, fuck me running.
I know we've been having sort of an embarrassment of riches lately with shows.
Yeah.
Which is why it's hard to watch other things coming up. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, I just finished Shogun, and I'm like, you know, I now know why that won a bunch of awards. Yeah, and The Last of Us.
Last of Us, thank you, Bill. Yes.
Because I honestly, as much as I love all the things that I'm talking about, I really want Andor to win it all.
I mean, I would have to agree. I would have to agree with that.
I can't I know Severance is Severance, and I know Last of Us is The Last of Us, but this deserves to win because it changed, it elevated something that's been around for this long and made it better than it ever has been. And maybe that's an unfair advantage on something like Severance or whatever, but I really want them to give it all to as much as they can to them. Mm-hmm. Don't forget these shows, even if they're, you know, like, it's getting harder and harder for awards to ignore sci-fi and fantasy anyway, because so much of it is getting made, and a lot of it is quality. A lot of it's not, but there's a lot more high quality now than there ever has been.
And they can't just keep winning Saturn awards and things like
that. Yeah, all the, you know, it's so nice to just be nominated. So yeah, all the things that I've been saying here, and then to sit through these, to watch, I just rewatched them. I really rewatched like the last one and kind of skimmed through the first two again. Took no notes. Don't need notes for something like this.
Yeah, I know. I've got stuff, but even me at like halfway through, I'm just like, it's just all going in my brain right now.
All there, and anything that, like, because I mean, there's one thing, and I talked about this with Bill early. Did you notice an aspect ratio or a quality in the film early in these 3 episodes? Because it, to me, felt like there was an aspect ratio change that told me I think they might put these in theaters.
I did not notice. I love that you did, and it would not surprise me, because I have caught that in other shows at times where you're sitting like, you know, there's some movies that do like crazy aspect ratio. Fucking Michael Bay does like 3 different aspect ratio switches, like in the middle of a fight on it. It's insane. But no, I did not. And it would not surprise me that they would want to put these out in theater, and even do something like, we're going to sum this and re-release Rogue One so you can get the entire Andor experience like over 3 weeks, or, you know, some type of thing. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, honestly, even just these last 3 episodes are a perfect lead in. I mean, it's a literal, it's almost too much. It's the one thing that I would say is, it's kind of like, okay, you're getting ready that we're moving on to this thing. It's epic, and we got the longest walk through the rebel camp that ever existed.
But it needs to be there.
But it worked so well. Even my wife's just like, who was that person there? I'm like, that's just a person. Because that's what this story is about. If anything, it is about how regular people are the core of the rebellion. The fact that we wrap this up, I know we're going to be jumping all around in this discussion with Nemec's journal entries, and Partagaz is listening to that before he, you know, does his bit, and now that's just overlaying everything, that it's the people. It comes out. It's, yes, look, Luke was a great thing, and he is the new hope, because you need him to go against like Vader and the Emperor because of their magical abilities.
He's the Andor of the original trilogy.
But to make the rebellion work, I mean, look, honestly, Luke was a farm boy who just happened to have this powers, was able to be at the right place at the right time to top this off. But it's all regular people that got him to that point.
Yep. This shows everything, and that's why I'm like, don't. Andor's story might be over, and we've talked a little bit about this, and we will get to the actual episodes. But I want more of this, and I don't see why we can't have it. We've talked. I joked about Agents of the Rebellion. In so many words, the rebels or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of people still alive.
Mm-hmm.
People we didn't even know about. And now, even with this show, you know what? Like a question I was going is like, do we even know that Bail Organa was on Alderaan when it blew up? Like, because, okay, Dedra is still alive in prison. Okay, what the hell happens to her once the Empire goes? What happens to those people in those prisons? You've still got Benjamin Bratt, even like I said, as like is Organa dead. You got Mon Mothma,
right?
She's still alive. They don't say that she died anywhere. We're like the books don't count, right? Kleya's still alive. The cousin's still alive. Wilman's still alive. Andor's got a kid. Bix is still alive. There are parts of this that could continue if they wanted to establish a rebellion show that shows, okay, so we got through Rogue One. We got the plans. What's going on while Luke is doing his thing? How do we get to the Battle of Yavin? After that, how do we get to Hoth? After that, how do we get to Jedi? And then after that, how do we get to the First Order? There are so many stories now that they can tell. And they can do them in this fashion. This show just gave them the blueprint to keep this kind of Star Wars going, in my opinion. And whether or not they do it or not, because like I said, we're always going to be stuck with this Star Wars story. It's always going to be Empire versus Jedi for some damn reason. We'll maybe eventually, after I'm dead, they'll be like, okay, let's reboot it.
Well,
but
I think they run into the real problem that this show kind of in its own way also really amplifies, is that the most interesting periods that we have been really exposed to in the Star Wars universe is the rebellion against the Empire. Is that this 15-year, 20-year, 19-year period between the Empire and when it falls, or maybe we could say halfway through the Empire because you want established villains, versus a rebellion to what happens just afterwards. Maybe going up into effectively your Grogu period, your Mandalorian era, which I think they've done a decent job of setting out that there are still Imperials and fights and things, and it's kind of a lawless area. But they've told so many stories there, they're kind of running out of room in some ways, which means either they've got to like double down and do and really commit to telling stories within this era, or what, they jump forward to the Daisy Ridley era. Nobody cares about the First Order. Let's be honest. The Empire is so much better than that. And if you do that, you potentially get into like the New Jedi Order and the Yuuzhan Vong, which is a huge investment. Or, yes, Bill, exactly. You go all the way back in time to the Old Republic so you can have your Jedi armies of Jedis versus armies of Sith in giant action, which is also a very expensive investment. And and both of those are relatively untested areas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand certain reticence and where they're going to go, but I do agree that this format has shown that you can tell gritty stories of the inner workings of the Empire and meetings between generals, and that will be fascinating material to dive into and to use. And I hope that they listen to that.
Yeah.
Which is why it needs to win awards, because that's how studios listen.
And Rena, it brings up a point, and it makes me think of the first season. How successful has this show been? Are people watching? To be honest, I don't know. I really don't, because I don't pay attention to what a bunch of other people say on the internet about most things anymore. I might look at thumbnails, but I don't really watch a lot of people's discussions on it. But anybody I talk to likes it. But again, that sample number is small. But I haven't seen, and it's hard to avoid when a bunch of people don't like something, you're kind of inundated with it because the algorithm loves hate. So if a bunch of people were talking crap about this show, I'm not getting it recommended to me. So critically, same as the first season, I would say it's critically being loved by everybody. Are people watching? I don't have those numbers, but I mean, the show's at least over, so they can't cancel it. And now, this is why it's important to speak out on these things, just in case somebody hears you say the right thing at the right time. Is let's keep this going.
Well, because we don't have the same type of Nielsen ratings. Yeah. Neiman Marcus and Nielsen ratings. Yeah, they've gotten together now. In order to get kind of what are the viewings, you pretty much have to trust what Disney is going to say. And most of these streaming services are very tight-lipped about stuff. You get new subscribers is one objective way to remember it. And I do believe they had a huge jump of new subscribers in the first week of Andor coming out. But because this was done over a period of about a month, 4 weeks, you're not going to see those monthly new subscriber numbers or things like that, and how many views and what does that replicate. So outside of buzz, it's very hard to actually get an objective measurement of what the viewership of a lot of these streaming shows are. So as I said, I remember seeing that there were some jumps in the beginning, but also, and money's tight. You're not subscribing to a new streaming service if you aren't already subscribed, or you're like, well, I'll wait till I finish these shows and then I'll get on Disney and I'll watch Andor and Ironheart at the same time. So I'll wait until August or September and I'll do my month subscription then. It's very
and just the state of the world as it is. How many people can afford to have multiple streaming services anymore? And how many people can afford to go to the movies or anything? Mm-hmm. So they have to think about how much can we make this for, because we don't know how big our audience is going to be anymore.
Well, let's get into the
and that's what I was about to try to just jump into.
Right.
So,
because we've got almost a half hour of just preening and flating.
Well, it's necessary. This is the end. It's really necessary to really drive it home, because even the 3-episode thing, it makes sense now.
Oh yeah,
why they did 3 episodes at a time. It just means I wanted 24 episodes. I guess.
I mean, yeah, that's it. It's just a shame of but it's sad that it's gone. I get an episode a week for 4 weeks.
Because now it's over, and I'm just like, no.
So we kick this off again with basically Lonnie throwing up the big bell, as Luthen pulls it.
Poor Lonnie. Every character is important on this show. Every actor.
And I was feeling for him, but I knew what was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
But, I mean, he's no longer useful. He's burned himself because he's had access to Daedra's files for a year. And as we find out later on, she is a scavenger of information, and rightfully so in her own way, which we'll get into. But basically, we get the Death Star, and that's what starts this whole thing. Oh, and also, Luthen, you're probably burned too.
Yeah, just the writing of Young is so good here. All this setup of you just going in, and again, I didn't this is not the 3 episodes I did not expect.
No,
I
had
don't
no
know
idea
what-
where we were going
I
with
have no.
this.
Yeah, that's one of the great things. Another great thing, like watching Severance, you don't know what's going to happen when you return to watch the show. You could be on the, like you could be watching Severance and they'd open up a door and they'd be on the moon. You'd be like, all right, this is the same way. We cut in and it's like, oh God, and I'm like thinking to myself, why am I still enjoying this when it's that, like there are times where you're like, where I'm like, man, I didn't even know I wanted this. And it's just, so yeah, he goes out there and just the way that, like, they've done a lot of stuff off screen. And it should bother me, but again, it just makes me want more. It makes
That's
me want,
true.
it's
It
just
does.
tantalizing. It lets you come up with your own ideas. But Young's whole thing that he did off screen, where he's had her, for lack of a better word, her email password or whatever for a year, and he's been sitting on this, and he tells him like, if I told you, you just push me and hound me into using it. He did it for his own like leverage. He did it to protect himself. No, and he did it to protect himself from Luthen. No, but it's still too late. We don't even have to see him get killed to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But this is also the episode where Luthen shows us, at least the audience and some people in his life, that he's willing to sacrifice himself too. He's not just out there taking people out willy-nilly because, I don't know. He was willing to take himself out of the equation rather than bring this down.
He is fully committed.
Everything. So everyone is sacrificing everything in this. Young gets shot up so that Luthen can go tell Kleya, you've got to do this. Here's the message. Go. If I had one complaint, because again, just stupid.
Sure.
He's frying the circuits. Somebody rings the bell. So what? So what? Let them ring a couple of times. You could actually have finished the job before she got there. 2, she might have you surrounded, but she's also by herself right now. And she doesn't seem to have a gun or anything, and you're pretty capable for an older man. Why not kill her? That's it. That's the only complaint I have.
Sure. Because I definitely did not want to see Luthen go in that point either. Yeah. Honestly, I thought that he was going to have the Batman desk from what was it, Batman Forever, where a little hole opens up and he jumps in like this, and it's a little chute that takes him all down to his drop, and I was like, you've got to have a backup, a way to be able to blow this remotely. And no, but again, it's also, you could tell he has been feeling like the end was near anyway.
Yeah.
And the fact that he let Kleya go and took himself back, I think he also knew he's the target. They know who he is.
Yeah.
But they may not know who she is.
Yes.
And so I will buy time for you to get away.
And we see their backstory finally to show why he didn't just take her out like anybody else. Not just that. I mean, she did need the message needed to get let.
Yeah, but I mean, to show that opening bit where he goes inside and he's just muttering, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. I mean, you could just see the guy just falling apart, just the horror and the fact that we just get to listen to it both over the radio and through the wall. I was horrified at just the audio combined with his reaction and the reality of that, of what must be happening outside.
It's like great radio drama,
Oh,
you know. And Dedra, who in this scene tells us everything without showing us anything. All she had to do was put that piece down for us to know that ever since Cyril got killed, she has been obsessed with finding Axis because of her guilt over that. She's been breaking the rules. She hasn't been paying attention to her duties as an Imperial officer. She's got like, we'll get to like that scene, but like, it just really shows the obsession. We don't know that this isn't authorized. We don't know that she's just doing it because she's just like, I'm going to, stand out in the Empire. I'm going to be, even though it's all just for Cyril, it's all just for guilt.
It's just her blind obsession.
Yeah. And that's all we need. And then the desperation that she feels when it's all falling apart just from, again, you disgust me. Well, there's a whole galaxy full of people ready to disgust you any second now. And guess what? I'm going to take myself out. And her absolute, like, it just falls apart when she still doesn't realize this is what it takes. We will do what it takes. You guys are scared. And it's part of like what Partagast was listening to, was that speech talking about tyranny is just basically a mask for fear. Like their fear of us, like and continuing that tyranny and continuing to bring people down takes so much work that it's just not sustainable given time. It will just fall apart because you have to keep.
Your very will cannot maintain this forever.
And you're just making more and more rebels. It's like what the guy said before, people leave the wolves, right? And from Last of Us.
Yeah.
People leave the Empire to come to us, but they don't do the opposite. And it's the same here. People don't go to the Empire. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and I think it also shows that, again, Daedra's committed to the Empire, but the Empire is not what she thinks it is.
Yeah.
And she is seeing this kind of reaction that she could just pursue. Like, these are just lawless, people that are wanting to cause chaos. And it's like, you have no idea. Even after all that you have been through and seen, you are still like trying to ignore the reality of what the Empire is. And like you said, this situation will breed rebellion. And which is, again, the great thing about having Nemec's manifesto being played at the end. Little bits of rebellion are happening spontaneously all across the galaxy. It's just a necessary result of this type of oppression. And Luthen is, because of that, someone who has so clearly seen it, knows that it will cost him everything. And at this point, he is ready to do that, which to Daedra's absolute horror, like, no, I'm arresting you. You can't stab yourself. Shit. Shit.
And it's like that for all of them in over the course of this. Even Krennic, is like, I'm so close too, like.
Well, and it's her failure to capture him in the beginning, which almost torpedoes her her career back in season 1. And again, she fails to do it. She gets so much time. She's so arrogant that now she has won and you're surrounded and there's nothing you can do. The moment Luthen takes that victory away from her, it spells her doom.
Yep.
Partagaz warned her, capture him, then make him famous. Nope.
And remember, I don't know which one it was. It's probably the second arc or something where I said, Kleya is like my favorite character on this show.
Yeah.
And what she gets to do here, because she's an up and coming actress. Elizabeth, I have it in front of me today. Elizabeth Dulau, if I'm saying it right. She just graduated from the British Academy of Arts in 2022.
Oh, fucking skyrocketing career going ahead for her. I hope, because she's amazing.
Yeah, just the quietness, the no dialogue, really, just how, like, this is in the writing, okay, of getting her into the hospital, doing what she has to do, which is so badass. I mean, it's just, yeah, like, as soon I'm like, how's she gonna do this? And I'm telling Bill, like, she's not getting out of this.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm just waiting for her to die. Same as like with the guy called the red shirt that goes with Cassian to rescue her. I'm like, well, there's a red shirt on here. He's clearly gonna die. And I'm like so wrong about all these things, and they do it, and it's just like, wow, it's not even, it's bucking these cliches, it's bucking these tropes, and saying, no, this person doesn't have to die. We can write this smart and still get them out of there. We don't have to follow that. And just through that whole thing, her revisiting her memories of them, like you said, the horror of that, and them traveling around, her seeing firsthand people being shot in the street while everyone watches, while everybody goes, no, just don't, you can't do that. And all I keep thinking in my head while I'm watching that scene is, if that starts happening here, how long will it take for us to do something about it? But that's just what I was thinking. I'm just telling everybody that's what it made me feel like. And then to have apparently it must have been like maybe her home that they went back to, where they blew up the transports on the bridge, teaching her to not react, teaching her to be like, we're just here talking and blah, 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 boom, now react. All the things he taught her, all the ways that he guided her and treated her. And it's the one relationship that's been constant in this guy's life. These two people. And again, this is called Andor. So a lot of people are probably thinking, well, some people are like, why isn't there more Andor in the Andor show? Because it's not, it's just he's the catalyst, or the things that all things spread from, but it doesn't mean that he's the one who started everything.
Yeah.
And so we didn't even know how important like characters like Luthen and Kleya and Mon Mothma and all these other people like Young and Paddock, and Dedra and Cyril and all these people that should be in any other thing, just background, who cares, blah, blah, blah. It just shows how important that everything, every choice you make, all these things just all build and culminate into what happens. And that's also just life. And episode 10, the way that they held on Luthen's body for a really long time to just show this man is like basically the person who started the rebellion with other people. But if it wasn't for this guy who did a lot of stuff that they don't want to acknowledge, or they want to forget, or they want to condemn, they suddenly want to clutch their pearls and be like, oh, we can't do this, we have to be seen as this now. And it's like, this is war.
And it so fulfills his speech to Lonnie last season, the big sacrifice speech, is because he says, I will never see the victory. No one will ever know my name. There'll be no sunshine down on the bit of my life. He knows I am going to die doing this, and probably in some quiet area that nobody knows about and nobody ever sees. And I go completely forgotten after this, and nobody's going to remember me. That's not why I do this. Kind of like the whole thing against what the ISB is there. Everyone's searching for glory. And that's the one thing Luthen knows he will never have. And in fact, in order for him to succeed, he cannot have. And that we got to see again, that formulation of the relationship between him and Kleya, and how it really does start as a survival partnership. They work together to sell these wares that Luthen has knowledge of, and that's how they start their thing. And they have a way of overselling and getting their price with their back and forth. And then, yeah, as it goes on, he's like, I will teach you how to do all this, but you have to pay attention. It has to be, it's a commitment. And yet Kleya is also one very early on committing herself to this. So yeah, they were the two constants in each other's lives. And yeah, that's, I think, the kind of extra tragedy to this. And it's sort of what brings Kleya in her encounter with Cassian and her resistance against dealing with the rebellion leads is, yeah, but we're the dark cast-offs that nobody wants to acknowledge or pay attention to. You have to relay this information. For her, the only thing is I will risk my life to make sure that this man dies the way that he chooses to. The fact that she just got in and got out of there, they're like, I think it was like a team of 3 and we can only with all of this. Yeah, it's just, again, the perfect encapsulation of the training that Luthen gave her and her own abilities and commitment to their relationship and moving on from that. It's just,
and also shows the confidence of the Empire. You know, they just see her as a nurse, not a threat.
Oh yeah,
all these things. You know, she's just like, and that's why they can't fathom. There's got to be more than one person.
Well, what did Andor say? They could never imagine with their greedy hands that someone like me could walk into their house.
Right? Fantastic. Just unbelievable stuff. And the little girl and the de-aging on Stellan.
Yeah,
little girl and the de-aging from Stellan, just fantastic. I said, man, I could sit here and we could.
It's hard and unrelenting, and that's what makes it real.
Yeah. And so when we jump into the second episode, where it's, I keep wanting to be annoyed that it's reminding me too much of just life in our world, not the politics of our world, just life. Oh, they have regular ass hospitals, and they have this, and they have that, and something, you know, like they have basically Fox News, you know, like but it doesn't bother me because it's just done so well, and that there's guys walking around in stormtrooper armor without the helmets. It's like, yeah, that would make sense that they don't all have helmets on all the time, that there are different degrees of stormtrooper, the guys who go out and that are grunts, and then you've got the guys that are like that need to be able to have, you know.
Yeah, it's just we need armor to go up against, you know. I love when they hand the ISB guy that chest plate to put on, you know. It's kind of like the bulletproof vest. Here's this chunk of armor. I'm like, yeah, that totally makes sense that would be there, of course.
So in the second episode, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to think of where to start for the second episode, because there's a lot going on and a lot of the Imperial stuff.
Well, we have the hospital stuff, but I mean, well, here, let me kick this off. We'll start with Krennic.
Yes.
Because him showing up to, again, Daedra's in the same cell where she interrogated Cyril all that time ago. Same look, same feel. And man, Ben Mendelsohn is just enjoying the fuck out of all of these little moments. Just how just despicable and evil he could be. And how he's just who else knows? That's his one entry and stuff, because he knows what she's done. Nothing else matters except this one bit of information. And she knows that's the only thing that matters, or does, as soon as she finds out how fucking caught she is.
This is such a good scene. The way it's every part of this, the way she's sitting in there. We see him like in shadow, sort of in reflection. Then we see him like just slowly, like just turning things off. And then the way they frame it all, that they make you feel like, because when you hear those doors go, right, the jarringness of that sound and how loud it can be when you're in that situation. And we know who he is, but they frame it like a guy that we don't know who he is. He's just this presence behind her. Like it might as well be Palpatine. It might as well be Vader. It's just, and that just Mendel's and watching her realize how badly she has messed up.
The look on her face when it hits her is like, oh,
you have all this information that shouldn't even be there, and you're not reporting things and they don't have to tell us it's about Cyril. She's definitely not going to tell Krennic, well, my boyfriend got killed, and it's all unsaid, and that's when you know the writing is so perfect. I'd even say, this I can't believe Star Wars was written this way.
Written and acted, because they do get the fucking right people.
I mean, was that Ben's decision to put his finger on the top of her head like that? Because if anybody touches me like that on the head, I don't care who you are. I'm not even joking at this point. If somebody were to just walk up and do that to me, I am fighting that person. And maybe her instinct would be to do that too. And she knows she's got to be screwed, yet she still gives them what they want. She still explains things the way that they, like, oh, well, what about this person and this? And it's not just she's not doing that just to get blame away from herself. She's still like maybe thinks there's a way out of this. I don't know, but.
Well, because she's, for her, it's one of those, I am always pushed to the outside and you're not letting me do my job. And this is my job. And so I have to take information and steal it and collect all these things. It's your fault that I have to do this to do my job. And then we just like,
and
Young had your passcode and spent 3 hours.
What?
But yeah, how he just then presses into her head, it's kind of perfect because she's already collapsing. And now he just like literally rubs it in.
And just we're good and like grabs her head. Well, he grabs her head and like, we're gonna move on without you. Like we're confident that we'll be it. And what did I say when I said that it probably wasn't gonna go well for her and that it was probably just gonna be banal? That it was going to be, I did my job, I did all these things, and it still wasn't enough. I'm still screwed. And she was.
Yeah.
And then, like, watching Partagast, is that the right way to say it? There's so many names. How he, like, we see him, I don't know if he's changed near the time of death, but like watching his realization, and part of his realization to me almost feels like he understands by listening to that manifesto that this was never going to work. And just that kind of like, he almost needed to, like, he's probably been listening to it for a while, probably on a loop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the great thing is, Partagaz used to work with the Jedi, worked with Anakin. Led us a Star Destroyer battalion or whatever, of Venture, whatever. I can't remember. With Venator class? Is that what the Star Destroyers? So, yeah, you got to think that this is somebody that had joined up, but originally was like doing the right thing and now has been with the Empire and just gets to see it all. Yeah. I love how he kind of like goes out like that.
Right? I need to collect my thoughts. And the other guy, but even better, almost as good as the reaction to there's 2 stormtroopers and the dude, and they hear the blast, and he goes, just puts his hand out. They react for less than a second, and just like he knew this is the way it was going to go. It's so beautiful.
No, it's that classic, give me a moment, I want to have that honorable way out. We know, because he's like, they want you downstairs. You know that's not going to be good. All the, the blame usually goes underneath. Well, you're the next guy underneath that's going to get all the blame thrown onto him.
Yeah. And what else does he have to say? There's nothing they're going to get out of him. So he knows that, like, he can either, the best that he can hope for is that he ends up like Dedra. The worst is that he's probably just going to get, force choked out by Vader and thrown out an airlock or something. I don't know. But, like, it's just, like, the defeat on his face, the desperation, as he's trying to keep the mission together from his, they think, again, they've got it. All right, we know where she is. We're going to get her, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do this right. We're going to finish. We're going to clean up her mess. The fact that they keep bringing up, make sure that it's always underlined that this is Dedra's thing. All blame going to her. And also showing, like, when you aren't cutting it in the Empire, there's always somebody else ready to take your place at a moment's notice, and they might not be as qualified, which I seriously don't think that old dude who ended up being a human shield for K2SO, like, he wasn't fit to hold Dedra's Imperial boots, but he was the next guy in line because Young's dead. They just keep trying to fill the job, and this is what happens. And
they're all disposable.
Yeah.
You fail, you're out. Dedra fails, okay, part of gas, it's on you. You have to stop this person. You fail to stop this person, well, guess what's next? You're out, because Krennic's not going to take the blame, and you're below him. It's just, I mean, really how it underlies, and I think that's that great scene of why, with Partagaz listening to Nemec's bit afterwards, I think he's looking back like, fuck, we tried, but you're right, this was never going to work. Could I have a moment? The only thing is, and I know we kind of jumped ahead of the whole K2SO and the whole rescue scene when talking about this.
Yeah, we're getting to it.
But I almost had to laugh, and it was like, if you wanted to lean into the comedy version of this, you would have just heard this had the exact same thing of the and have the guy, and then okay, like Partagaz is just, he can't quite do the thing. And he just keeps shooting himself. Has to do like 5 or 6 times before he hits a major artery or something like that. I'm sorry. That was my dark humor way of listening to that. But what catches him into this is his inability to catch Kleya in time. And we get Andor, Wilman getting the SOS. I love that this safe house has, like, there's stuff up here and hidden here for bombs and things. And then in the wall, there's an emergency radio if you need this. And then, like, over here, if you piece together 3 halves of the fridge and the vacuum cleaner, man, you'll have, like, a speeder bike. That this is, like, all set up. And it's exactly as spies and covert agents would have things secreted away and stored away and locked behind, plaster boards and all of that. And how that brings Wilman back in. And we get that great intro of K2SO now back playing cards with everybody. We're seeing people from Rogue One, so we know this is like his little group. He's got the ship back, the U-Wing. I mean, it's like that perfect kind of like, okay, we're in the final lanes of, we're just connecting all this stuff together.
And Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk is K2SO.
Just nails it.
He's a better droid than C-3PO, sorry.
Well, because he's so much more personality without being annoying.
He can throw people. He can crush them. He can get, and he was in, okay, we joked last night, but I put it in the Discord right after you posted the thing. I put, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
That scene, we were like, well, there's a meme. As soon as that happened, and what did I do? I wasn't even looking for it, man. I
Are
wrote
you with us?
K2SO in the GIF
No.
thing, and it was way down. I had to look. There it was immediately. Are you with us? No.
No. Bah!
Just yes.
So good.
I'm glad that we didn't have him all over the place on this show. I'm glad that he came in late because he doesn't need to be there until now. We don't need tons of it. Yes, it's great. We want more. We want more. We always want more. We're gluttons. He was in there just the right amount. They used him the proper way. K2SO saves the day again because that's what he does. He goes in when Cassian is in over his head. K2SO shows up. Those people don't even know what to do because is he with this? We don't even know if we can kill him because even our guns just bounce right off this thing.
Well, and how the comms go out like this. Did we lose everything? And you just see the guy's head bash down onto the thing.
Like,
okay.
Well, this is going on. The action is happening while they're having this heart-to-heart about what's going on and the Death Star plans. Because it's her acting is really good. The acting in this scene is all really good, but it's just giving information. It's just exposition. It's just you have to get out of here. Him telling her, going through the motions of this is why we can't stay here. Yes, they hate Luthen, but you don't understand. Like we are going to go there together. She doesn't know what to do anymore. Her whole life is blown up. Why? Like she doesn't see a future for herself because of all these things. Again, things that are not even said. Just felt. And then we have this awesome hallway scene. Again, just done right.
Just holding that guy. He's
just holding him. What a great shot. What a great, and just the way it looked like he was holding the dude. I mean, I've seen human shield things before, but this was just next level. Oh, and nobody died but them.
Yeah.
Nobody died but the bad guys. And
that was kind of impressive, actually. Usually.
Because, I mean, it's a tight hallway. It's scary. The stunner. Is there a way out? Yes, but we don't have time for it. Which leads me to like what you're saying. Like, there's plenty of ways to use this place, and there probably is an escape chute or something. But we'd have to
break through the floor to get to the secret tunnel.
Don't have time. And watching everything fall apart at the Imperial headquarters is just like shit. We're done. Like, get it out there. We need to know where these people are. They just walk out.
And that he has to pay back because this brilliant idea, which I think it was like, say that there's an infection. That's how you put her name out and get people to show up. They'll pay attention if you say that she's infected. But no, now there's no backup units in the area because everybody is out dealing with the infection. And it's like, oh, fuck.
And even when he gives him the perfect answer, Krennic is still like, can't save you, Leo.
Yeah.
I can't step in. It's no matter what you say. That was great. But it's meaningless because just like Luthen, just like Luthen would treat somebody, you're a liability now. Except, see, it's like the reasons for killing people in the Empire and reasons that somebody like Luthen takes out, young, completely different.
Sure.
Just as horrifying, but one's to keep going, one's to win, one's for victory, and one is just for keeping up, to hold off.
Let me ask this: what you think here? Sorry, I've got a bug flying around me.
Cool. I thought,
if they had more time, do you think that Luthen would have gotten Lonnie out?
No.
I think that was always going to be Lonnie's.
As soon as he said he was burned. As soon as he said he was burned, he went, oh, fuck. Because he went, okay, they know about him. That means they know about me.
Yeah, it was well, that's what I'm saying is I think that it was a time situation. Like there's no time. We're both dead. I just have to make sure you can't give anything else up.
Yeah, and he didn't tell him, right? Is like him telling him he's burned. He knows, like, it's only a matter of time. I've put you in a corner. You don't do that to Luthen.
Yeah.
You can't,
And I think that's why Lonnie was intelligently enough going like,
he thought
I'll give you a little info, but you've got to get me out first. Because he knew, like, as soon as I set this up, my usefulness is done.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully, in fiction of all this, his wife and kid are fine, but we'll never know. Not unless they, all of a sudden show up in some episode of something or whatever that they come out with, and there's a girl there, or a daughter's like, my father was the guy from,
Well, honestly, I think that his family's probably safer because Luthen killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Is there was no way to get him out and to get his family and do all that. That would be too much time. You've put a limit on it. I think with Lonnie dead, with Young dead, the family is irrelevant to the Empire at that point. There's nothing. Yeah, nothing served by punishing them. Who knows? Yeah. Nothing. All right, cool. But yeah, the fucking K2 was freaking awesome, and I love that bit. And of course, the flyaway as the cops arrive, the backup arrives to the area. Very clean, very, very sweet. And we get back to Yavin, where this was the only thing that, like, I get it, why it's here, but it was also just kind of annoying because, I'm like, hey, you're all on one team. You should all be together. But the fact of the internal drama and politics that's going on even within the rebellion. And I'll start this off with fucking making Mon look exactly like she does in Return of the Jedi a few years, 5 years later down the road, with the simple dress and the simple thing and the hair now short and red. And
you wouldn't know that she's a rich senator from Coruscant.
They continue to just make all of the right choices with all of their little bits. And
we even get to see that what, her sacrifice meant. We do see her husband, who is like clearly not doing well.
Yeah.
Even if he has money.
Yeah, I think he was enough within the Empire to protect himself from being thrown into jail after Mon leaving. But, yeah, he's definitely not living a happy life.
But the Yavin stuff, is so important because it's like, we know where it's going. We do know what they do, but at the same time, what would they be like? I mean, there is the whole thing with Luthen and whether or not they believe it. The fear of the information and what the stuff going on with Saw, and you have to, having to convince people to make a commitment to something and say, look, we finally know it. We got there in ways that you don't like, but it doesn't mean it's like saying, somebody gets killed and the only witness is a prostitute. And they don't want to listen to the prostitute because she's a prostitute.
Right.
Because her eyes can't work the same as anybody else's. It's the same kind of thing with like Luthen. Like, well, yeah, but he's a guy who did all these bad things. So how can we believe this information? Because he died for it. We know. Mon knows. Kleya knows. The cousin knows. All these other people, we've been with him. And I love what Andor says. Is like, it doesn't matter what he did to us.
Yeah.
The way that it twisted him up to be this way and to get this way. He died for it. He stayed behind, as Kleya says, and grabbed Andor. He stayed behind to figure all this out while you all left us. You went off to be a rebel, but we were here, and now you don't even want to believe us. And right. I just had to kill my father, essentially, for this. And that her not knowing what her place is, and you need to have that here. It can't just be slam dunk.
Right.
We got the information, great, because that's not how this story is being told.
and it's not the reality of
Yeah.
these forces coming together. And if there's one thing that Tony Gilroy and his team have committed to, is telling that type of story, all of the uncomfortableness. That yes, Andor's strength of going out and doing what needs to be done, well, that's going to chafe with, you know, a burgeoning rebellion that has to have order and structure and stuff in order for larger organizations to exist. You can have the free flow in the early stages, you can't later on. And at what point does the old ways become anathema, even though it's still serving the same purpose? I did have to laugh when he was like, when he gets trouble and Maud lets him go and see Kleya there at the hospital. He's like, "We'll got to get you out of here." I was almost like, "Yeah, I'm up at my place. It's a fucking kick-ass pad, just overlooks everything. It's got a wonderful view. You're gonna love it."
I want to live there so bad.
That's so nice.
I love the idea of just sleeping with the rain around me.
But yeah, I mean, I love how they tie things up with Willman, with his relationship, how he is still serving in with things, how Andor's, you know, finally being accepted and understood, how all of Luthen's work, in fact, does at least set up the people that will then come together. You know, it's Vel who Mon sends down to go, okay, I need to find out from your point of view. You know, I want to believe, you know, what did she say? I want to believe Andor, make me believe him, you know. Yeah. That it's just great how all of these little pieces finally come together. And that last Val, even with just Kleya and Vel just kind of having their little connection there through Luthen, even though there's obviously been ups and downs and traumas and pushback. That appreciation for what everybody has contributed in, I think they just played that so nicely, so simply, but it has such a big impact.
Yep. And we need to see, like, since we all know that all roads lead to Rogue One,
right?
You know, you need to see where everybody is and what, as we're closing out their stories, for at least for far as we know, and some of them aren't going to make it out of whatever. You know, seeing Krennic looking at the Death Star, seeing Saw Gerrera looking over Jedha, knowing how messed up he is from all the fumes and other things that have happened.
You know why he's so fucking crazy.
Off the reservation, thinking paranoia, seeing enemies everywhere. You know, being reckless, seeing, like, having Jimmy Smits, which is why I said, like, is Bail really dead? We don't. Anyway. Like, seeing what he had to do, because when he said, "If I'm gonna die against the Empire, I want to go down swinging," and I'm like, he doesn't, but
yeah,
that's why I'm like, come on, man,
writing a firmly worded letter.
Yeah, just find out, you know, like, let's find out that Bail's been hanging out with Mace Windu, you know. And like the Jedi protection program or whatever, the rebellion protection program, and seeing, like, his guy training the rebels. Now there are like when we saw the rebels earlier in the season that didn't know who the leaders were and how to do anything. We're seeing that training.
Yeah,
Kleya's seeing that training. You know, everything is clicking and working, and we still don't know, like, and how fragile that all will be as A New Hope comes and they're almost all killed on Yavin,
right?
Because of the Death Star. And that even though all they did in this, they all still almost die. You know, and they don't know it yet. We know it. You know what I mean? And
that was, I think, the brilliant thing with how they managed to do the connection, because I was like, how are they going to leave? And I heard it's like, yeah, they're leaving it like Rogue One takes place right afterwards. It's like, it literally does. He's getting on the ship to go meet up with the guy that we see at the beginning of Rogue One. And now we understand all of that setup and why he's there. And again, even though I had to laugh with that super long walk through the thing while I was looking at everyone.
I love it.
It is, because it's acknowledging, you're seeing what the rebellion has become, that even individual people are making acknowledge, because they're all little parts of it. All of these pieces have come and each person is playing their part to make it happen. And then we reflect and see, what happened with Partagaz, and we go back and we see what happened with Daedra, who is now in the same prison that Andor was in season 1. Oh, the delicious irony of that is so evil.
I've never seen Denise Gao in anything before this. Or freaking, where is he? Kyle
Cyril.
Stoller as Cyril. Never seen him in anything. Either of these. There's so many people that I've never seen before. And now I can't wait to see them in everything.
Yeah.
And then to end where we see the robot, he's still kicking and he's having a good old time with another robot.
And that's where
I'm like so happy. I was like so happy that they tie up his story.
I know.
That was thank God. I was literally worried that that poor robot is just sitting there waiting for Cassian. And then to finally see, because this is a great scene, but Bix was still done dirty. She was one of the only characters that wasn't really, they didn't know what to do because she's more of a whatever. But to know that after all of that, what we know about Rogue One, that Cassian may be gone, but
there's a little baby Cassian out there
now. There's a new life, and that I didn't see coming at all.
A New Hope.
Just loved it. A New Hope. Hey, yeah, and that baby's name was Poe.
I've seen that. I've seen the Poe.
Oh, was that somebody said that? Well, I mean, because he's got a story, he's got parents, he's got a whole backstory, so that person clearly doesn't know that backstory. But
somebody showed a picture that had Andor, Bix, and then like little baby, but it was Poe.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, "Oh, is this the family? This could be great." I'm like, no. Again, it's not about legacy. It's not about generations. It's not about this. It's about individual people. Your everyday person becomes the hero, not because of who their damn father was. It's like, look, I get the whole Skywalker saga and stuff like this, but you can't be like, only these special people, only King Arthur can save us. No, motherfucker. That's not the way that not because he was king or because his dad was this. We got to get past that, man.
We do it together.
Yeah, that's how we do it. All of us together is what makes it happen. Not one special person with a freaking last name.
All of our differences and all of our disagreements and all the ways that we want things to be, blah, blah, blah. It still comes down to people working together to defeat tyranny. It's not going to be done with just one guy out there who does something crazy, and so, and it just, when it ended, I'm just like, it can't be over. It can't be over.
No.
And that's when you really know you've done it.
Yeah.
You've really done it. And as much as I'm clamoring for more, I really hope that I'm kind of glad that it is what it is, and I like that this special thing exists.
Yeah, let it be its own. There's too many things that run themselves in the ground trying to keep milking from the same stuff. You can take this approach towards other things, and make those as wonderful as this.
Yeah.
But you're right. The fact that would I have loved multiple seasons of this where we had, instead of 3 episodes covering a year, we got a season that covered a year? Of course. But if we have to get a little bit less to get this quality of stuff, I'm good with that.
Yeah. And yeah. I had an but it's basically the same thing. So it's just, well, it was the feeling that I've said several times is this has only been 4 weeks, but with all the things that have happened in 4 weeks, I feel like I've lived with this story for years and years and years.
Yeah.
I feel like I've read a bunch of books that I have no memory of reading. I have all this information, and there was so much of it. Again, season 1 was a little while ago, but I don't even count that in that same way that I'm thinking. This season by itself, I feel like I've been living with it for a long time, and now that we're at the end again, it's like, oh, we can't be now. We're just getting started. No, it's just Star Wars. Just make stuff with this in mind in the background. I don't want them to stop making kid stuff. I don't want them to stop making stuff about Jedis and Force stuff. Leave some room somewhere in there for things like this. And don't forget that maybe you don't get Tony Gilroy again or Bo Willimon. Find other people of that caliber, though.
They're out there.
Yep.
They exist.
Because this is the best thing that we've talked about besides Severance. And we've talked about Severance. We've talked about Penguin. We've talked about Daredevil. We've talked about all kinds of stuff over the last few years. And this somehow, to me, after all of it, because I think Star Wars means so much to a lot of people, that as much of a surprise as Penguin was. And I never realized how much Ben Stiller is good at crafting insane stuff with the right kind of people too. Again, it's the right people. Every single one of these shows, what do they have in common? Right? Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin over there doing The Last of Us. Tony Gilroy, Bo Willimon doing Andor. You got the people who were working on Penguin that were just next level crime thriller stuff. Even Daredevil, which I don't love as much as this stuff, they are finding good creators, good writers, good actors. And this, again, the acting in this, I know that, again, all these actors that have been over the course of all these Star Wars movies and things like that, this is the best cast. This is the best cast they've ever put together. But you have to thank the writing for a good chunk of that.
It's the best cast that they have used in the best way.
That's
because I think they've gotten amazing cast members.
Yeah.
But there's always problems with dialogue or action or things or plot holes or issues like that you run into. And you get that because it's a movie and it's a big product or whatever. But even with some of the series, man, look, this makes like Obi-Wan just sad.
Yeah. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are going to be at the Fan Expo in Chicago in a few months. I wish I could go just so I could ask Ewan McGregor, so you watch Andor?
Oh, I'm sure he probably freaking loved it. It's like, can we get more of this? I think there's more Obi-Wan stories to tell. We can tell them like this.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Obi-Wan was made like this?
Oh,
I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the way. That's why I'm saying it's like you can still do Jedi and stuff even in this style. It's just how you're approaching the material and, what kind of serious story you're telling. I like the big adventures, man, but dude, an intrigue espionage story with Imperials and yeah. Well, give that to me anytime.
I didn't know if I should ask you this before or after the stream or during the stream or after the stream, but
shoot it. We're doing it live.
I kind of want to talk about Rogue One.
I almost threw that on last night, but it was late and I was like, I didn't have time to watch the whole thing, but I'm probably going to be throwing it on this weekend just because I'm like,
so if you want to talk about Rogue One next week, why not? We don't have anything yet. So if you want to do a thing where we discuss Rogue One after the fact, after watching this.
Fuck yeah, let's do it next week, 6:00 Pacific, same Andor time, same Andor station. We're going to go into Rogue One. See how that measures up now after watching Andor. It's on. We're doing it. So keep eyes out for that. You know, if you hit that notification button down there, you'll be notified whenever we got new videos that are popping up. Always a smart thing to do. We do have, before we wrap things up, Rob and I have been having little discussions, little talks about maybe expanding some sort of YouTube podcast show, kind of like what's going on here, but talking about bigger things, not just shows. We talk about shows all the time, but life stuff, world stuff, maybe some politics stuff, more current events type kind of things, but also just things that may be in our mind, just expanding out from the type of discussions that you've been seeing us do over the past couple of years. Building on that, you might say. So we don't know whose channel it's going to be on. Could be on mine, could be on Rob's, could be on a brand new channel.
Brand new channel.
We don't know what to call it yet. We're that early, though we do have some ideas. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
We got a couple of ideas.
You don't get people like us talking about stuff like that without having about a billion ideas.
Few things. Just something for you guys to keep in mind. If you do have any thoughts, ideas, things like that, what type of stuff would you want us talking about? What type of stuff do you want to hear about? Throw those down in the comment section below. Help feed our brains into this, and then as we start to work this stuff out, we'll let you guys know where we're at and where you can find those new shows.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts before we wrap things up, outside of reminding people to go over to Smirking Gun Reviews on Sundays or Mondays and catch
Sundays or
the
Mondays.
Last of Us discussions.
Yeah, we
Two
got 2
episodes
more.
left.
Yeah, we got 2 more weeks of The Last of Us to go talk about. So, yeah, I'm expecting 2 more weeks of excellent conversations, and then figuring out what we're gonna do. We've always got things going on, and I'm excited to do. Because look, folks, if you've been missing some of the way I wish that, you know, like I feel like I hold back. I feel like I've been holding myself back a lot.
Sure.
And it's easy to hold back when you're talking about Star Wars. You know, you see it poke in our conversations when we talk about things, and it could really easily get sidetracked and derail the whole, you know, reason we're talking about Andor. And that's why we want to do stuff that's on our minds outside of this.
Yeah.
That's been on our minds for a long time. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And I'm just excited now to talk Rogue One, because I've been purposely not watching it just in case we did this.
Excellent.
Yes,
All right.
Lord Vader.
All right. So, Last of Us over on Smirking Gun Reviews. It'll drop Sunday or Monday, probably Sunday night this week. And then join us next week. We'll talk Rogue One. We'll wrap this up in a cinematic kind of way. So, as always, everyone, you have a good day. So long. Take care. Watch out for those Nazis.
Watch out for them.